time. I am in Central, so I still have an hour and change, so not that that really matters, but hey, you know what? Might as well do this just to be on the safe side. Where are we? That's not the one I want. That's the one I want. We're going to be talking about trading today. Trading involves risk. Make sure you know what you're doing before you do anything. Okay, this is not really going to be the same type of thing. Obviously, this is not my stream. You're not going to see, other than that little oops right there, my charts or anything like that. But I wanted to share a couple of things with you. Now, first and foremost, I had been sharing like my daily profit loss, my Ninja Trader account screen. So what I'm going to doing that daily, I mean, that's just, I think for me, that's really one of the things that starts to get into my head is if my daily is rough, then it gets a little too deep into my psyche. But if I can keep the week solid and positive and moving forward, then I'm good to go. So what I want to do is on a weekly basis, and I'll probably do this on Fridays, I'll show you guys kind of my profit and loss for the week so that we can see the spread out over a little bit more of a period of time. And so I'll actually show you this today. This is for last week, and it was definitely not an exciting week by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a positive week. Barely, but positive nonetheless. After all was said and done, if you guys have been watching, you know that basically my commitment has been to, last week was to take 3 trades a day max. Win, loss, doesn't matter. Of course, if I took 2 losses out of 3, I was going to be done. Did not happen, fortunately, but the idea being that showing some discipline and not necessarily doing what I think could potentially make me profitable, but doing what I committed to do, which is the discipline that is required long-term to be a successful trader. Yes, in the short term, I may have taken a losing day and turned it into a positive, but at the end of the day, I know that there was significantly more value for me in getting into a routine of having a set of limitations that I was willing to stick to. So I committed to doing this for a week, which basically took me into Wednesday of last week. And since it was Wednesday, I decided to go ahead and carry that through for the entire week. So if you'll take a look, took 15 trades for the week. 11 of those were winners, 4 of those were losers. With a gross P&L of 110 after commissions, that gave me a P&L of 65. Now this is on one account. If you guys have been watching, you know that I'm currently trading 10 evaluations. Now I am back in evaluation because, quite frankly, that discipline has bit me in the butt a few times, and from time to time, you need that reality check, and it's time to start over. So I have done that once again, and in this case, I am a little bit more committed to that long term versus the short term. I don't care how long it takes me to get through all of these. I'm not banking my income on trading at this point in my life, and probably never will because of some of the things that I'm doing. However, I know a lot of you guys are. And so when it comes to that discipline, when it comes to that consistency, I think it's critically important to have whatever your set of rules are, but have some set of rules. Now, these rules may be imposed on you by trading a funded account. These rules may be imposed on you by a coach or a mentor. These rules may just be imposed on you by yourself, like I was last week. This was suggested to me, not by a coach or a mentor, but this is actually suggested to me by another trader, just to get into the habit and to the mindset of that discipline. So I did. I stuck to it. And again, not super exciting, $65 profit for the week. Again, that's on one account. So let's just fast forward into the world of PAs and past the profit, the minimum to take that profit threshold. So in a week like this, $65, while not terribly exciting on one account, spread out over 10 accounts is $650. Now again, $650 isn't going to make me rich by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly nothing to scoff at. And so that, I think, was a piece of information that I really needed to remind myself of. And not everybody's trading 10 accounts, I get that. But in my situation where it stands right now, I need to stop being in a hurry. And part of not being in a hurry is simply to just take it as it comes and not push for things that are out of my own rule set. Okay, pushing out of my comfort zone is a whole different ball of wax. Now, the other thing that I will say, last week I had some struggles with the copier. A couple of these losses, I think actually two of them. One of them you can see was, I don't know, a $5 loss. So that is one of one of the 4 losses. Now, I had some wins that were not necessarily within the norm either. But I did have some struggles with the trade copier because NASDAQ was moving pretty quickly, and I got some bad fills. Now, I've also gotten some bad fills that have gone deeply, deeply in my favor. This week, that didn't end up being the case. So the other thing that is, I think, worth note for me, at least for my own mindset, is that my results in a, outside of the immediacy of these particular trades, my results are solid. So I would have had, I think we're talking about maybe at most 2 losses out of the 15 if everything had executed precisely. Now, we can't expect everything to execute precisely if we're using a trade copier, but nonetheless, in terms of long-term performance, you're not always going to have, I will say, 95% plus of my trades execute pretty spot on. I might have a tick or two of slippage in one direction or another, but that usually evens itself out. Kind of comes out in the wash. So I can't worry myself over, over a bad fill here or there, knowing that from time to time I've gotten a bad fill that made me $600-700 per account in one trade. Definitely more than I was expecting, but it took me a minute to get out of the trade. So anyway, all of that, I say all of that to say, this brings up a point that I actually want to start talking about with a little bit more frequency. We're talking about the idea of trading for a living. Most traders, when they start off, either own their own business or are working a traditional, W-2 type job, and they're trading on the side, right? So when you take a look at this concept, which means that you're adding more time to your schedule, you're putting a constraint on the schedule. Not only are you trading, especially if you're new, you're putting time into studying and learning and practicing and maybe some back testing. There's all sorts of things that can take up significant amounts of time early in that trading career. So we don't really need this here anymore. There we go. So we'll just bring myself back up. But most people, well, I don't know if most people, but I know a lot of traders, when they start trading, the goal is to quit their job, or, as in my case, was close the business. I had a mattress business off and on for 20 years, consistently for like the last 12 years that I shut down last year. I got to the point where I absolutely hated the business. I was dealing with everything. We were talking almost weekly price increases. Yes, there were a lot of dynamics going on, but supply chain issues, manufacturing issues, like issue after issue after issue. And I got to the point where I absolutely hated the business. So for me, I was absolutely looking for a way out. Now, I didn't get out via trading. I definitely was not at that point. But I know for a lot of traders, that's the goal. That's the end game. Is, hey, I want to trade for like 90 minutes to 2 hours a day, and that's how I want to make my living. And this thought process tends to come from the idea that if you can trade one contract successfully, you can trade 2, you can trade 5, you can trade 10 of whatever it is that you're trading. You get the idea. And so this brings up definitely a psychological dynamic for anybody who's been trading for any period of time, knows that when you start scaling up, it tends to mess with your head and your results don't immediately go back into that same consistent level. So if you're winning, say 75-80% of your trades, or you're profiting on average $32 a trade, or whatever your numbers look like, whatever you've been tracking, usually when you change a dynamic, whether that be going from sim to eval to funded, funding your own account, scaling up, any sort of a dynamic change usually tends to have a shift in that psychology, which will lead to, in many cases, some of the psychological challenges that many of us traders face from time to time. So as I move forward, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this because while I haven't made that transition in trading, I have made that transition going from a traditional job to self-employed or to closing down one small business for another opportunity. And so I have seen within myself a lot of these dynamics that I know are put under a magnifying glass when it comes to traders, right? I've witnessed it myself as a trader, just those couple of times where I was so close to a payout and that old psychology kind of came into play. So I want to ask you guys a question if you're still here with me today, or if you catch this on replay. I want to know how many of you trade exclusively for your primary income. Now, you might have some side gigs or something like that, but the primary source of income is trading. And then I also want to know, for some of you, regardless of where you are on your trading journey, how many of you, is it your goal, is it your target to either quit the job, fire the boss, shut down the small business, whatever it is that is the dynamic for you, whatever it is your current primary source of income is, if you're wanting to let that go in favor of primarily earning your income via trading, if that's your goal, I want to hear about that as well. So shoot me a message here in the comments, or you can just send me a direct message if you prefer. I know a lot of people like to preserve their privacy on stuff like this. I get that. No harm, no foul. You guys know me. I have no privacy. I'm an open book. I love to share everything with you guys, but I know not everybody is in the same boat. So if trading as a primary income is something that is a part of your life, whether it is today the case or it is something that you are looking to move into, let me know, because I'm going to start talking more and more about this. I think this is an incredible dynamic that a lot of traders make the shift before they're prepared and can have some, and sometimes very devastating results. And I think that there is an opportunity to develop a strategy and develop a plan that's going to help traders move into that space more effectively and with less downtime is not the right word, but less of a one step forward, two steps back sort of thing, and make that transition a little bit smoother. So I want to hear from you guys. As always, I appreciate you guys. I love you all. God bless. I'll bring back up the recap on Friday, after my trading on Friday. We'll try. I've got a big training this week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, starting at noon market time. So I'm going to have to finish my trading early if I'm going to make all of that happen. But I will do my best to make that happen and make sure that I go live every day and share with you guys. So hang with me. Again, appreciate you guys. I love you all. God bless. Have a wonderful Monday. I'll see you guys tomorrow.